Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio. And again, we are back with the Positively Pipeman segment with our weekly special expert. And we're going to also, we were talking last week about a subject that's very important. And we're going to kind of add to that a little bit in the beginning. And then we're going on to a subject called the buyer's journey, which I think is extremely important. So with no further ado, let's welcome to the show, Michael Barbarita. How are you?
Thank you, Dean. I'm doing great. How you doing? I'm
doing phenomenal. It only took me the third week in July to get over my jet lag and say your name properly.
There you go. That's progress.
Right?
That's progress. So yeah, we talked about in the last show, we talked about the inside reality versus the outside perception, and how the inside reality in most companies is great, but they never communicate all those advantages of that inside reality to the outside world. And therefore the outside perception is that they're like everybody else, where the only differentiator that the prospect has is price. And so the other thing I talked about was that, not many business owners go and look at their competitors' websites. And when I ask my clients to go and look at their competitors' websites, they find that they're very similar in many ways, and that they use what we call I hope so marketing. And let me explain I hope so marketing. So I hope so marketing is terms like largest selection, lowest price, best service, high quality, most professional. We're insured. We've been in business for 400 years. We're family owned. We're honest and sincere. And by the way, the Boston Strangler thought he was honest and sincere. I just wanted to mention that.
Nice. Is that how he marketed himself?
That's how he marketed himself.
And I want to say something having to do with, authors. I always say to myself, come on. And I'm an author, and I never use this term that everybody uses, a number one bestseller.
Right.
Come on, you can't all be number one bestsellers. That's ridiculous. And it just makes me not believe them at that point. Now you've lost credibility as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. I know. And what I think they do is they pick little segments like, 16 to 17-year-olds were number one or something to that effect. But anyway, what the customer is saying, when you talk about things like being experienced and honest and sincere and being a largest selection, best, most convenient location, all that stuff, the customer is saying, I hope so. I hope you have high quality. Why would I do business with somebody who doesn't have high quality? I hope you're professional. Why would I do business with someone who's totally unprofessional? And so,
right.
And so this is the same jargon that your competition is using. If anybody else can say it, it's worthless. And that's why you have to have those differentiators like a position of market dominance and having that and communicating the actual inside reality so that you can counter that outside perception that you're like everybody else. And so I just wanted to add that from the last segment last week. So that
most convenient location, that's a little subjective, right? What's convenient for me may not be convenient for you.
That's right. It's just jargon, and it goes right over the head of the prospect. They don't care. Because the next person is saying the same thing. They're saying, why should I do business with you? Well, we have the highest quality that you can find.
Well, what's interesting about that is, as you know, I was in the investment business, and as a financial planner, there's a lot of regulations, but there's one thing that always blew my mind that was okay to do, and that is they call it puffery, which means you're allowed to exaggerate. And you're allowed, you're not allowed to give not factual information, but you're allowed to exaggerate. So, and they call that puffery. And you could say things like, I am somebody that, in my opinion, is the best broker you could ever work with. You didn't say anything illegal or against regulations, but is that true? Yeah, probably not.
Right.
And in my opinion, well, yeah, the best to me, because I'm talking about me, but
Right.
people think about that too. When you say stuff like that, they're like, are you really? And it makes them question you, I think.
Right. Or they're saying, I hope so. I hope you're good.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you're the best. Why would I do business with the worst?
Right. Exactly.
So anyway, that's something I wanted to add. I hope so marketing, because the customer's saying, I hope so. I hope you have the highest quality. I hope you're the most professional. I hope you're honest and sincere.
And you would hope so, for sure.
Right.
That's a great concept. I love it.
So today's segment is about the buyer's journey. Now, what's interesting about the buyer's journey is that our research shows that only 1 to 3% of any market at any time, in any industry, at any moment, is ready to buy now.
Yeah.
The 97 to 99% of prospects are on the buyer's journey. And what we find is that the business owner does not bother nurturing that 97 to 99%.
Mm-hmm.
They basically ignore it. And the buyer's journey can be anywhere from 15 minutes, anywhere from 1 minute to 15 or 20 or 25 years or more. So patience is a part of the process here.
I've experienced that recently. We have a new show coming on the network that I talked to several years ago, and just contacted me out of the blue, and not out of blue meaning like he didn't have any prompting. It means I sent an email campaign that he's on, and then he contacted me. He goes, that was perfect timing. I got that email because now I'm ready to start. And I'm like, I was blown away, because it's not like it was a month ago. It was several years ago.
He was on the buyer's journey.
Yeah.
But it took it was a long journey. But that's where 97 and 99% of your prospects sit. That's where they are. And the buyer's journey is actually approximately a 4-step process that the buyer goes through that can take anywhere from a minute to many years, like in your case. And it starts with a mild interest. They find out that something is out there. Mm-hmm. And then they kind of analyze what the benefits are. Now, this is over time. It could be in a short window, but for the most part, it's over time. And so, and then they as they go through the benefits, as they continue down that journey, they're now asking themselves, what are the objections? And, why shouldn't I buy this thing? Why should I hold off? Or why shouldn't I buy? And then finally, they make a vendor selection. And in your example, which is a great example, a drip campaign is a very effective methodology to communicate with customers while they're on the buyer's journey. And so what you did was perfect, because he was on the journey. Who knows? He went through an awareness. You might have presented that awareness. You might not have. A competitor might have presented that awareness. And then they started thinking about, oh, this sounds good. Here's a benefit. There's a benefit. Oh, okay. And they're discovering this over time as you're dripping them.
Yep.
And then you're saying, why shouldn't I buy? And let me wait let me wait, because I'm really not ready yet. And then finally, they make a vendor selection. Boom. And once again, you had a consistent drip.
Exactly, because otherwise they'll forget about you, and then it'll be the next person that comes along, because timing is everything a lot of times. Things happen in life, And people don't necessarily tell you what's happening in their life that makes them not make the decision right then and there. But, what I explained to you has happened to me so many times in this industry over the years, where
I believe it.
Even with past clients, I'll still market to them over the years,
Yep.
because maybe something happened or what have you. I had somebody else recently that they had a show on our station many, many years ago, but that business is far defunct at this point. It's not, and now like they see an email and it's like, oh, you know what? I want to come back and do business with you again, but it's not going to be the same thing. Now I have a different business, a different concept, and that's what I want to do. So there's many things. I think it's so important for people to know that there's many things that could change in that buyer's journey that could make them the perfect prospect now when they weren't the perfect prospect before.
Amazing. And what we found in our research, Dean, was that when you use the conversion formula while they're on the buyer's journey, now just to review, we've talked about the conversion formula in the past: captivate, the problem; fascinate, solution; educate, a little bit more information on why your solution is superior to the competition; and offer, that's compelling. We found that instead of the normal 20 to 100 touch points that are necessary while a prospect is on the buyer's journey, that using the conversion formula, we have found in our research that we compress the time, the touch points before they buy between 5 and 12 points of contact. So, if you follow the customer while they're on the buyer's journey using, let's say, a drip campaign, and using the conversion formula in that drip campaign, you will compress the time frame to help them make a decision faster. So and so what your example is perfect. It's happened to me too. I've had clients that first talked to me 15 years ago and just weren't ready. And then as time went on, you keep dripping on. And by the way, here's another thing. That particular client that I'm thinking of, he called, I first contacted him in the 15th year, and then I kept dripping on him. He called me like 5 years ago and still wasn't ready, but just called me to touch base.
I've had that too.
yeah. And then the 4 years ago, he just touched base again, because something in the drip campaign got his attention. And then, 2 years ago, he and then finally he jumped in the boat. So it's really fascinating. But that's where most prospects lie. Everybody is going after the 1 to 3%, and they're banging their heads against the wall because they're all going after the 1 to 3% who are ready to buy now. Where you don't need to stop going after the 1 to 3%, but you have to start nurturing the 97 to 99% that are on the journey.
They'll be the longer lasting clients anyway, because those people that take that long usually are the longest lasting clients.
Right, and they're the most educated in terms of knowing what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, exactly. So what else do we want people to know about the buyer's journey?
Well, I think that there's several strategies for addressing it. What's interesting too is that I can't tell you how many clients, because we business owners are so immersed in our business, we think that that if a prospect has one point of contact with us, or even experience us as a customer, being a client or a customer of yours, we think they'll never forget it. Never forget it. And so we never tell them about anything else. For example, I have a client who is a roofer, and he sells gutters and siding as well. So he's selling, he's had one interaction with a customer on roofing. Oh, that's it. They can call us back for siding and gutters. They have no idea you do siding and gutters unless you did a drip campaign to rejuvenate those former customers. They have no idea. And so, but because we as business owners are so immersed in what we do, We think that that somebody just needs one touch point, whether it's and certainly a customer who's experienced us and loved us, they'll never forget us. The fact is, they do forget you.
Exactly.
And the only way you got to stay in contact. You have a 34% chance of selling to an existing customer versus a 30% higher chance of selling to an existing customer versus a cold customer, someone who hasn't experienced you yet.
Oh yeah.
So reactivating former customers is another drip campaign and another, because number one,
I do it all the time.
You come up with new stuff, right? You have new products that you're presenting. You're adding more value to an existing product that they didn't know about. All that stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing how business owners overlook things that are just right in their domain, right in their grasp, right in their wheelhouse.
Well, and sometimes those new features and services that you add are what would have made them make the decision before.
Right.
But you didn't have it.
Right. That's right. That's right. I mean, you're always innovating at some level. Yeah. Coming up with new ideas. But what happens is business owners go after the 1 to 3% with those ideas, and they don't tell the 97 to 99%, especially their former customers, not to mention other customers that are on the journey.
Yeah, and to prove the point, when I do mass email campaigns and I have, I just got back from this and we have all these new innovative things we didn't have before, that's when I get the most responses to email campaigns.
I'll bet.
And it's usually previous people. And they're like, oh, well, what's going on now?
Amazing.
Give everybody out your contact info, any additional info you want to give them at this point.
Love to. Every week I offer 3 lucky listeners an opportunity where I guarantee I will show you how to increase your revenue a minimum of $100,000 without spending an additional dollar on marketing or advertising. And to do this, and I can only handle 3 a week. So go to nextstepcfo.net/contact, fill out the contact form, and in the message section, put 100K. And I will send you an invite, a calendar link for you to schedule the appointment. And it's 90 minutes. But I promise you, you'll see how you can generate more than $100,000 of incremental revenue without spending any additional money on marketing or ads.
That's
and by the way, most incremental revenue falls to the bottom line.
That's true. Well, again, you were a wealth of information, and we look forward to hearing from you more because I have you, because you're such an expert, on my show every week. And so thanks for everything you gave us this week, and we'll see you next week. And thanks for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Thanks for having me, team.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.